Welcome to The Hanley Effect, a podcast by the Hanley Foundation designed to educate, change minds, and save lives. Our goal is to inspire you, showcase our innovations, and change the conversation about addiction and mental health. Join us as we unravel stories of resilience, recovery, and hope.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hanley Effect. I am Rachel Docekal, and today I have a guest host with me.
Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth Chance. They also call me Bizzy. And I have another podcast called It's Bizzy. And I'm so excited to be here, Rachel.
Elizabeth, I am so glad that you're here with me today. Poor John, he had a tickle in his throat. And what we decided to do is send him home and let the girls do this one.
Good.
Elizabeth,
You'll get well.
We have an incredible guest with us today. I am a child of the 60s, and I will say that I grew up absolutely in awe of this amazing artist, author, professional. I mean, she is just incredible.
I mean, when Rachel told me you were coming on, I was like, no way. Of course I'm going to sit in. I want to be here and meet you. It's so great to meet you, Judy.
So everyone, we have Judy Collins with us today.
Thank you so much. And I'm so thrilled to be here. And I'm honored to have been invited.
Well, I know that you were here at Hanley about 20 years ago.
Yes, I was.
So incredible. So incredible. We like to start our podcast by having our guest, inviting our guest to tell us a little bit about him or herself. Now, of course, everybody knows who you are, but will you just talk to us just a little bit about your journey and, of course, your journey in recovery?
My journey in recovery. Well, I just celebrated 48 years.
That is amazing.
My sober date is April 20th. And of course, I was lucky that I was able to go to a wonderful treatment center near New York. And, I was dying. So there we go. And having been a drinker for a while, 20 years or something, I know that the scary thing about getting sober is you don't know. But of course, it's a good thing that you don't know because what you go through is so phenomenal. I always go to meetings. I was at a meeting Monday night, and I'll probably go again this week, Monday and Thursday. So everything in my life transformed. In the first place, I had something called a hemangioma on my vocal cord, which meant I couldn't sing. This happened in 1977, and there was no cure for what I had. A hemangioma, not on my face, which a lot of people who drink have as they get older. I had it on a vocal cord, which meant kaplunk with the singing. No way was I going to sing. But I had a miracle doctor. He was smart. He was religiously devoted to finding a solution to this, because he told me, he said, you won't be singing anymore. I had canceled 45 dates. That's a lot. That will end a career right then and there. Then one day he said to me around January of 1977, January, February, June. So June was busting out all over because he said to me, I think I have found a solution. And he said, you might as well try it. It was something that I'll think of it in a minute. It's called a laser treatment. He said, I don't think anybody's used it on the voice, but I think that it could solve our problem. So I said, okay. And my friend the Muppet guy, had called me and asked me to come to England and sing on his show. And I wanted to go, of course. And so I went on silence for a month, and then I went to England and did the show. And then I came back and went straight into the hospital. In about 2 weeks, I was going la, 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 la. And the voice was there, but I was still drinking. I was still drinking. I had another 4 months, 5 months, 6 months to go. And then I went down to Chit Chat and I landed. I was drunk as a skunk. I went into the nurse's room, and she put me in a little paper jacket, and then she sat me down, and she said, "Why don't you let us drive?" And I mean, this was it. This was it. And as I said, I'm 48 years sober, and it's all because of AA. It's all because there were people there. I'll tell you, this treatment center was the most amazing place. I just went nuts. People started telling their stories. You know how we do. We tell each other stories, and then we laugh at these terrible things that happen, and everybody's howling with laughter. And I couldn't get over it. I was in like Flynn. After the first few days, I had to detox, which is no fun. And you go for a few days, and then you settle down. And I was sharing a room then with a roommate, and she prayed every night. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know. So in a few days, I was praying every night too, on my knees. So the journey as a sober, recovering alcoholic, the journey is filled with miracles. 4 days before I got sober, I met my beloved husband.
4 days before?
4 days before I went into treatment. It was a miracle. One of my best friends introduced me to Lewis, and we had 46 years. He died a year and a half ago of an undetected cancer. So being sober in all these years, Lewis was sober, I was sober. We had a thrilling 46 years. We did everything together. We had our professions, we had our lives, we did our work, we went to meetings, we were sober. I mean, what could be better except the ending? The ending was not. But he wasn't ever in pain, I have to say. There is that. And a friend of mine has said to me recently, you have to be grateful that he didn't have any pain.
Judy, when you first got sober, did you feel that it would change your art? Were you concerned that stopping drinking in some form might change what you had been able to do and accomplish as an artist?
Not at all. Not at all. I was terrified that I had, blown up. My career had blown up. There were 2 years, basically, where I couldn't work, where I didn't work, where the shows were all canceled. I was beyond belief in terms of being terrified that I would not have my career. And so when I woke up, first of all, from the surgery, secondly, from the treatment of making me sober, cleaning out the booze. And then I had this was in April 16th is my sober date. So April and January, February. So 10 months later, although I did a recording, during that time, I did a recording in September, the year following my sober date. And I then did my first live show in February of 1909. And of course, after that, like it's a clear road. It's decades of singing. It's decades of making albums. It's decades of doing concerts every year. I used to do 68 a year. Now I do 100 a year. So my sobriety has done everything for me. It has saved my life. It has saved my sanity. It has saved my career. And it has given me this life with this incredible man. And, you know, a sober marriage is a miracle.
Sent Judy, congratulations on 48 years. And I'm a fellow 12-step member with you. And I want to ask you something. You've been through a lot, and I can tell right now you're going through a lot of grief. What helps you manage one day at a time with this huge loss you've gone through? If there were a step that you're leaning on right now, what would that step be?
To accept the things I cannot change,
Mhm.
the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I mean, here we are on this planet. We're in all kinds of trouble. We've always been in trouble on the planet. It doesn't matter where we've lived or when we've lived. We've always had something that was driving us nuts, driving us up the wall, driving us to another country, making us think we're going to die in the next 10 minutes. I mean, your life on the planet is just no walk in the park. I mean, yes, there is a walk in the park, and I've done it many times, and I love it. I mean, we walk in the park down here, and it's springtime, and it's gorgeous. So I have to say that I spend most of my time doing two things. The first thing is I'm always working. I'm trying to figure out right now a couple of new songs, and also going back and figuring out a song that I wrote years ago that I haven't done in a while. The other thing is figuring out my meetings. Tonight I'll be going to a meeting at 6 and then having dinner. And then who am I seeing next for dinner? My social life and my life as a working artist, they are balanced. My friendships are very important to me. And my life, I am either planning my next tour with my team, or I'm planning on who I see tomorrow and the next day and the next day and next week and the week after. I went when I was first in New York. I started seeing a therapist in 1963 when I got here, because in my teens, I tried to take my life at 14.
Mhm.
And it was, of course, traumatic. And so I went to this doctor to talk about my suicide attempt. I, d- I did not talk about my drink. I didn't really talk about my drinking with this guy. I was with him for 9 years or something. This group really did not think about the drinking as a problem. And so it was a number of years where I didn't get the help that I might have needed then. But of course, and one day I said to him, I called so and so and they didn't call me back. And he said, it's your job to call back. It's your job to make the first call. It's your job to manage your social life. You have to do it. You're the key person. You have to make the contact. You have to see what's in your book and how to fill it, because your social life is what will keep you living and growing and thriving. So I believe it. And of course, with AA, I have tons of friends that I've gotten sober with over the past 48 years. Some are gone, some are just getting gone, some are here forever. It's like the rest of the planet. You can depend on some people and not always on others. But in AA, you depend on everybody.
Yeah. At Hanley, we hear individuals who come in, brand new patients say, how can I ever have fun if I'm not drinking or I'm not using drugs? People in recovery are fun. People in recovery, you know, remember the next day the fun that they had the night before.
Yeah.
So you are so very, very right about that.
It's, yeah.
How do you keep going with all of these tour dates? And I mean, you've really been performing for a long time.
I know. I have been touring for long. I love touring, by the way. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, I don't like it." I love it. And I grew up in a family where my father was on tour when I was little. When I was 2 and 3 and 4, he was touring for national school assemblies, and I was in the back seat. I was the first of 5 to be born, so I had my time in the back seat. I had my toys. I was traveling in the back seat. I got to sit in the back of this Buick and see the Northwest. That's where we lived. The big, big, big trees, those gorgeous trees. I still love traveling. I love being in the backseat of a car, seeing all the things go. I was just in North Carolina, and it is so beautiful. It's the pine tree countryside, and I'm just mesmerized by what I see out the window. So I love it. Whether I'm on a plane or in a train, or not on a train, obviously, but in a car, on a plane, and I get to work. And I'm very, my father was very careful he was a drinker, but he was very controlled. He was also very careful about his diet, what he'd do, what he'd done. I looked in my kitchen the other day and I saw a old 1945 edition of the Gaylord Hauser cookbook. Gaylord Hauser was the nutritionist to the stars in Hollywood in the 60s, 50s, 50s. We were there in the 40s. And Mercedes McCambridge became friendly with my father, and she said to him, I think you're an alcoholic. I'm going to take you to a meeting. She took him to a meeting. Later, he said, I didn't like the God stuff. He didn't like that. So he never continued that. But Gaylord Hauser, he followed like a religious following. And he did it Gaylord Hauser's way. The breakfast treatment for the hangover was wheat germ, egg, blackstrap molasses. He ate along the lines of Gaylord Hauser. So one of the things he did was to help himself to stay healthy. He also exercised. He would swim. He would walk. And so from when I got into my 20s, I started to exercise, seriously. Exercise, the diet, the kind of thing. We work hard at keeping ourselves healthy. And I do that. I'm very, very aware of it. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? When it was a funny question that someone gave me not that long ago. When you came in, were they talking about a life beyond your wildest dreams?
Absolutely. And that's the truth. That's the truth. It's amazing.
And what about the pink cloud? Because I feel like today in the rooms, people aren't talking about the pink cloud anymore. And when I came in, I think I still am on the pink cloud. I know where the car is. I know, who I'm waking up to. It's all good, right?
Yeah, I can find my way around the apartment. No, the pink cloud. Oh my God. It is such a change. Sobriety is the clear skies and the dreams and the open vistas that we begin to see rather than being in a blackout at 6:00 in the evening, ready to figure out where our keys are and that we can't drive. We can't dare drive. I mean, please, we could get a taxi. I was home usually and in bed when I was drinking. Somehow I found myself. I was drinking from the age of about 15, and I was 39 when I got sober, and that's a long time drinking. It's a long time from a teenage time. It's interesting. My girlfriend, I am still best friends with my 2 girlfriends whom we met in 7th grade, maybe 6th grade, and so we're all 87 now. We're all 3 of us are 87. And one of my friend's fathers was the doctor that came to see me when I tried to kill myself. But neither one of them has any sense of what my alcoholism was like or what those years were like. Maybe it's because I didn't see them as much as I do now. I talk to them. I get together with them occasionally. So one is on the West Coast and one's on the East Coast, and I'm in New York, but I travel around, so I do see them once in a while. But they haven't got any idea really of what I was going through or what I had, because they aren't alcoholics. Neither one of them is. I think people who are not subjected to the ruin of alcoholism don't even, they're not aware of, well, one of them, I'll tell you a funny story. We met one day, we were having lunch at the museum in New York, the big museum. And we were having lunch in this big fancy restaurant. And one of them began to talk about her daughter. And she said, this is what's going on. That's what's going on. And I said, she's an alcoholic. And my friend said, what? I said, yeah, that's the way an alcoholic behaves. Those are the things that an alcoholic does. She went home to the West Coast and she and her husband called a facility in Canada, and they sent down a person to help her do an intervention. Her daughter said no, and they sent her to Canada to this particular facility. She got sober. This was years ago. She's sober now. But as we sat there over the lunch, I realized that these two women that I am such good friends with really didn't know about my history. And they may have had some inkling, but they had no idea that it was a serious illness that I was under the whip of. And they didn't recognize in her daughter the same thing that I was going through. But she got sober and they did the right thing. They were sober people. They called somebody to help them. The person came down to the West Coast, led the intervention, and took her off to a treatment center. And she's still sober years.
And Judy, your role in that is so important. I mean, it is, you know, it takes courage for somebody to speak up and say, I know from my own experience that what you're seeing and what
Yeah.
you're experiencing here with your daughter means that she has an illness. And let me get you some help. Let me walk you through what you need to do, instead of just either not saying anything, or when your friends said, "Oh, no, she can't be an alcoholic," just
That's
saying,
right.
"Oh, okay."
That's right.
Yeah.
They thought it was the other side of the moon. They had no clue. But Marcia is a smart woman, and she heard me, and she saw, I see what it is, and I'm going to do something about it. So, recently I'm getting calls from one of my husband's sponsees. I'm so moved that he'll call me and talk to me. I mean, it's a generational thing. It's a friendship thing. It's a kind of texture that you can get when you know people that are sober, that they know what to do, that they know how to take their time with someone who's having troubles, or take a call from a sponsee who has, wants to spend a few minutes with you. And it's not always a long time. They want to know you're there. They want to know that they can hear your voice. They can hear that you're sober. They can hear that okay, the next right action, that's one of our forms of communication. Let's just take the next right action. Let's just try it 1 minute at a time. Let's try it a day at a time. Let's just do the thing that's accessible and easy to do now. And then we'll see how it all works out.
Love that. Unfortunately, we are coming to the end of our time.
What?
Judy, if you could say one thing to our listeners as we close, what would it be? What would you want to say to our folks?
Don't be afraid of sobriety. It's the thing that will save your life.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Judy. It was such a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure talking about myself and my illness.
Well, it is so important for our listeners to understand that this is a disease that affects everyone. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter if you're famous or if you're not. It really affects everyone.
It is the most wonderful thing that we have in our culture, that we have Alcoholics Anonymous, and it is every day creating miracles.
It is. It is. Judy, thank you. Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. This has been such fun. We might have to do it again.
This was wonderful. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining the Hanley Effect. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Hanley Effect. To learn more about our programs, visit hanleyfoundation.org or call 844-502-4673.